In 2020, Democrats took full control of Washington.
And it will give Democrats control of the Senate.
Joe Biden has been elected.
But Republicans stood up in the states.
There was no blue wave. Democratic down-ballot disasters carried all the way to the state legislatures.
Now, we're the last line of defense against the Democrats' socialist agenda. The ways we're fighting back are bigger than you think. Hello, and thank you for joining episode 10 of It's Bigger Than You Think, a conversation about the politics that most impact your everyday life. I'm Annie Moore, I'm your host, and joining me today is Matt Flinchbaugh. He's a restaurant owner in central Pennsylvania, and he's going to be talking a little bit about how the pandemic kind of affected and the governor's lockdowns kind of affected his business and his community. So, Matt, we're really excited to have you on today.
Appreciate you having me.
All right, let's just get right into it. How long have you been a business owner in Lower Allen Township, and what's your relationship like with your community?
I guess this is my 19th year. My relationship with the community is, I would say, excellent. Super involved. One of the biggest things we do at the restaurant is give back to the community. So I'd say we have a pretty good reputation and a good, excellent involvement with them.
Yeah, that's awesome. So the Democratic governor of Pennsylvania, obviously Tom Wolf, he implemented some pretty harsh lockdowns over the course of the pandemic on small businesses. So what did some of those restrictions look like for you and your restaurants?
We were restricted to 25%, 3 different times throughout the pandemic. We were restricted to no indoor dining for weeks, months at a time. Then we had to socially distance our tables. Our staff had to wear masks. Customers had to wear masks unless they were seated. And you couldn't sit at a bar. But I could put a table right next to the bar and you could sit at the table, but you couldn't actually sit at the bar. And if you sat at the table and you didn't eat a cheeseburger or a slice of pizza or a French fry, you got COVID. But if you ate those things with your beer, you didn't get COVID. I mean, one of the biggest things that irritated me the whole time throughout this last year is the hypocrisy of what was actually happening. And then you go down the street to the malls and Dick's has a sign out front that says they're at 25% capacity. And they also had their number of people that were allowed in that store, which was 935 people, I think, at that time. To get 935 people in that Dick's at any given time, you'd have to put Nick Foles down there giving out free jerseys. To say that, for me, 25% meant that I was allowed like 30 customers out of, whatever. Say I was allowed 200 people, I was allowed, it was ridiculous the amount of people I was allowed to have. Versus you go to the grocery stores and you watch people pick up apples and tomatoes and feel them and cantaloupes and then they put them right back down. Nobody's cleaning them. Nobody's opening the cooler doors and grabbing milk and picking up eggs and opening them and looking to see if they're broke and putting them back. Not one thing's being sanitized. Walk up to the counters, nothing's being sanitized. Meanwhile, I can't even refill your water glass without having to give you a new one. And everything in the entire area after somebody sat down at a restaurant was cleaned and wiped. I mean, you're talking about an industry that's already held to standards far more than anybody else. And restaurants grocery stores and big box didn't have any restrictions. They said they had restrictions. They said they dropped them down to 50%. They said they dropped them down to 75%. It didn't affect them. They had record-breaking years. Everybody had record-breaking years. The whole way this whole thing has been funded and everybody was rewarded has been absolutely crushing to small businesses like myself.
How did you guys stay afloat when all of this first started happening?
Customers. I mean, if I was a year or two old restaurant and didn't have what we talked about just a few seconds ago about my involvement in the community, I would have never made it. And there's no doubt in my mind, and my staff. I mean, the staff that stuck it out and it stayed with me. And I can tell you, I mean, personally, and I can speak for all of them, it's been the hardest 2 weeks of our lives. You know what I mean? It's just been, we've never worked harder for a dollar. You know, and now, yesterday I had to close both of my restaurants Mondays and Tuesdays because I don't have any staff. And I lost more staff over 4th of July. And unfortunately, I can't work everybody 7 days a week as hard as everybody's working. And we just don't have the staff to do it. So starting this week, we just closed both restaurants.
Obviously, you said you're super involved in your community. I'm assuming that means you're also friends with other small business owners. How was the entire small business community impacted during the entire past year and a half?
We've all been affected equally. Doesn't matter who you are. If you're a restaurant owner, but we got crushed. It doesn't matter if you're a woman. Doesn't matter if you're a minority and you had a small business or a small restaurant. It was absolutely crushing. I chose to dig in, and I chose to fight and stay open throughout all these closures. There's not a restaurant alive that didn't get affected. I just can't figure out the agenda of what's being done in this administration right now. Everybody has the same problem. It's a super easy fix. Get America back to work, and we'll be okay. 4 million jobs in April, people left, they quit. 3.8 million jobs in May, people quit. People are quitting at an alarming rate because there's so much free money out there.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that was going to be one of my questions a little bit later is, have the federal stay-at-home payments that Biden reauthorized made it hard for you to find workers? But it sounds like, it's a trend across Pennsylvania. It's a trend across the nation.
It's not even small businesses. I mean, you Lowe's, Home Depot, they all have tents right out front. $300 signing bonus. McDonald's is giving out iPhones or something. It's there isn't a business. You drive down the highway, you see the warehouses now hiring. Everybody is hiring. And the problem is the government has such a reward for people that quit their job. And first of all, how do you get unemployment if you quit your job? You're not supposed, in Pennsylvania, if you quit, you're not supposed to get unemployment. If you're fired or let go, then you qualify for unemployment. I guess all the rules have been thrown out. I don't know. It almost comes down to the vaccine. Have you been vaccinated or not vaccinated? Are we throwing HIPAA out or are we keeping it? So the game has changed in the last, 6 months? Are we that deep in, sadly?
Already.
So yeah, it's been a scary 6 months, and it doesn't look very promising. And we need to get people back to work. We need to flip it where you get penalized if you're not working. There's so many jobs out there.
If Pennsylvania didn't have a Republican-led majority legislature on both sides, do you think that this would all be a lot worse, or do you think it'd be about the same?
It would be 100 times worse. Yeah, Governor Wolf doesn't make any decisions. He hasn't from day one. He's taken all his orders straight from DC. Last year, before Biden got to DC, he was taking it from the DNC. It was very clear. Look at Florida. Look at DeSantis. He did a 180 of what everybody else did in Democratic states. And look where Florida is right now. Florida is thriving. Florida is booming. Florida's been that way. I was down there in February, and it was amazing. It was like walking into a wonder world of freedom. There was businesses that had signs up, you must wear a mask in here, and there was other places that didn't require them. And that's what we should have had from day one. We should have had those choices, and everybody lost those choices. If you didn't feel comfortable walking into a restaurant with a mask, You shouldn't have had to wear a mask. If you felt that you were uncomfortable because you were in a restaurant with a mask, then you went to a restaurant that requires a mask or gave you better social distancing, or, but we lost all that in 2019 or 2020, excuse me. We lost so much of our freedoms. We were told what to do, and everybody just kind of fell in line and just did it. And, now they're talking about this variant and all that other stuff. People aren't going to do it. People are not going to do it. Not in my area. And I can tell you one thing, I can't afford to shut down. I mean, these 2 days, I'm going to lose $10,000 to $15,000 a week right now because I can't stay open these 2 days at the restaurants.
Yeah.
And you think I'm going to go, somebody's going to come and tell me after I watched all these companies get millions of dollars, like I'm going to shut down now? No way.
So last year you helped to mobilize some other small business owners and people in the community to kind of protest against all of these lockdowns that you were forced to implement. Can you kind of talk about that and what that looked like and why you chose to fight back that way?
One voice is one voice, many voices is heard. And, I got a tremendous amount of support from all the local business owners, and especially restaurant owners. We had to stay relevant in the news. The news is very biased, to say the least. They have a political agenda. Yeah, I mean, I just felt that somebody had to, stand up and lead the charge, and I kind of did that. And it's come with penalties, and I got multiple inspections from the PLCB and the Department of Health. I talked to all the other owners. They had their yearly checkup and hardly ever saw the PLCB. So I've definitely made a target on my back for it, but it was, in my opinion, worth it. It was a reward for me to be a voice and to have so many other business owners have my back. So I enjoyed it, and I'll do it again. So
yeah, we need fighters, And
Yeah.
there's a referendum on the governor recently. Voters voted to strip him of some of his emergency powers. Why do you think that they, chose to do that?
Because it's not America. It's not America for one person to be able to control everything we do. And that's what that Emergency Power Act did. It gave power, so much power. It turned him from a governor to a dictator. We weren't living in Pennsylvania. We weren't living in America. We were living under Lord Wolf. That's what I like to call him. And he abused that power tremendously. Just days after the vote in May, where the people, his constituents, spoke. The people that voted him into office were the same ones that voted him to lose as an Emergency Power Act. And what's the guy do? The first thing he did right after that vote was go and sign another 21 days to basically tell voters, screw you, I don't care about you. The Pennsylvania spoke up and said enough's enough. I mean, what kind of arrogance does it take to do something like that? So
yeah,
and Pennsylvania does need leaders, and we have a lot of people out there that talk like they're leaders in Pennsylvania, but they're not. Mm-hmm. I will firsthandly tell you that the restaurants were probably the true backbone of the grassroots movement in 2016. That's where we gathered. That's where we met. That's where people talked. That's where restaurants owners donated. The restaurants had played a very large part in re-electing certain officials and in their areas and stuff. I mean, that's what we do. We donate food to functions, and we hold events and stuff like that. And we need a lot of new leaders in Pennsylvania. We need a lot of new people, new faces that aren't there for themselves and that are actually there for the people. They only want to come out when the camera's there on. They only want to come out when the camera makes them look good. But they quickly change their mind and do what's best for them. And what hurts us the most was we saw a lot of true colors throughout this.
You're not wrong. Matt, do you have any final thoughts for us today?
I want to walk away from the politic thing, and I want to just say screw it, but it's just too scary. But we gotta get some new people in offices across the board, from township level to the presidency. We can't stop fighting. I want to quit. I want to stay away from it. I want to say screw it. I don't want anything to do with these people. But we got to keep an eye on them, and we got to change them, and we got to help them. We got to start holding them accountable. And the government is getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And Donald Trump said he was going to drain the swamp. That swamp is so full with green money right now. It's ridiculous. And it's overflowing because so many people became so rich during a year where everybody was supposed to lose everything. And that's scary. How do you come out of a pandemic with how many more millionaires, how many more billionaires came out of that 2020 year? I just read an article on it. A lot. Car sales over 80,000 went up over 80%. Car sales over 120,000 went up 40%.
Wow.
During 2020. That's scary. And the growth between wealth and the lower income went like this in 2020. And that's wrong.
Yeah.
So I don't know how to fix it. I know how to fix the unemployment. Stop giving out free money. So
yeah,
it's one way.
Well, appreciate you coming on. I hope you stay engaged in politics. I know it can be frustrating,
yeah,
to say the least. But definitely appreciate your efforts in Pennsylvania and within your community. I know you do good work out there. So thanks for coming on. Thanks everybody for joining us. And don't forget to subscribe to the podcast on whatever platform you're listening on. And always remember, state politics have implications that are bigger than you think.